What's up, everybody? It's your boy Showtimedr. Today we are going to be doing the Kristian character in-depth analysis here. So let's go ahead and get started. Fair warning before we begin, I don't have my Kristian where I want him. I mean, obviously I want to upgrade him, but besides that, I don't necessarily have the runes I want, so I kind of gave him an Omni sort of thing with one focus. You'll see as we go, but go ahead and go over the skills here. So on his one, inflicts penetration damage equal to 100% of attack to an enemy, 35% chance to increase caster's critical strike by 20% for 2 turns. As you level that up, that's going to increase the base damage, increase the chance to crit, and increase the chance for the hit to improve crit chance even more, and eventually you get it up to 30, 60, and 160 here, 2 turns. So it's a pretty solid skill. PvE, that's going to be your bread and butter. On your 2, armor destruction inflicts penetration damage equal to 120% of attack to 1 enemy and 2 adjacent enemies. 35% chance to force targets to reveal weakness for 1 turn. Reveal weakness basically means all attacks against that target until they take their next turn are going to be a crit, or until this gets dispelled somehow. 3-turn cooldown. It also it's a cone. It's a cone effect, so it's going to hit 3 targets or 2 targets depending on what you do with it. And as you skill it up here, it's going to increase in base damage, increase in the chance for the reveal weakness until eventually it gets up to 60 and 192. This skill, I'll just say it, in PvP it's a little hard to do because you pretty much have to have your Kristian with some attack speed so that he doesn't go last or near last right before the enemy turns. And the faster he puts up his 2, the more that your team can take advantage of it, depending on say Kristian's faster than your top damage dealer or your second top damage dealer or whatever's going on. Then you got a chance for an instant crit that's pretty strong, but otherwise in PvE, this skill, it's kind of hard to use just because most PvE enemies take turns really fast depending on how many characters you have alive. But in general, still a solid skill, still hits pretty hard. Having a debuff's never a bad thing. So on his 3, as you see, I already upgraded 3. I actually kind of regret that. I probably should have upgraded 2, but I'm in it now, so I gotta upgrade his 3. So inflicts penetration damage equal to 330 of attack to 1 enemy. Starts at 300 with a 50% chance to remove all buffs. 100% chance to increase all the target's skill cooldowns by 1. As you level that up, the base damage goes up, the percentage chance on the buff removal goes up. And eventually you get to 480. If you notice, this turns into 2 turns for increase all target skill cooldowns. Really powerful in PvP. And 80% chance to remove all buffs. So basically you're going to remove all buffs most of the time. So pretty strong PvE skill right here. All of his skills, by the way, are penetration damage, in case you didn't catch that. And this will do you better in PvP, but at PvE, definitely hits super hard as well. Increased target skill cooldowns. I'm still not sure that honestly works on non-hero units, but the majority of the hard content we face are hero units, so that works. Pretty sure, unless there's some weird immunity that they don't tell us about. But your number 1's going to be your bread and butter in PvE for base damage, increasing your damage, because these have cooldowns just like any other skill. But your 3's going to hit really hard. Your 2, it can be a good finisher, your 2. But as far as recommendations for which skills to skill up, if you're PvP, recommend skill 3, just for the double skill cooldown, the hard hit, and more removal of buffs. If you're PvE, probably your 1. You probably want to do your 1, because your 1, that's going to go off on your multis and your counters, as well as give you this crit strike chance buff. He works very well on crit strike chance. So we'll cover the leadership real quick. Increase light and wind allies critical strike chance by 20%, so that's pretty strong. You run him with someone like a Ruby, or you're lucky a Kali. You got your hybrids covered right there if you got Kali in this guy. Now his passive, the Blessed One, inflicts additional 20% damage for each buff applied to the caster, 80% chance to apply 20% healing over time to the caster. for 2 turns when launching a critical strike. So as you might have guessed, he's pretty much built around crit. That's why his 1 buffs his crit strike chance right here. And then his 2 basically puts up 100% crit debuff, or crit chance debuff on the enemy. Now this is what makes him right here, additional 20% damage for each buff applied to the caster. I honestly don't know how many buffs you can have up. I believe it's at least 6. We're going to go ahead and try that out. I'm going to try to get him with as many buff characters later on when I take him out. I'll probably take him out to the Xenon dungeon or something. But obviously, if you have Leafa gives you 3 buffs, so that's an additional 60% right there. And the other thing I'm not sure of is, does it count things like healing over time as buffs? Because if it does, then this would count as a buff. Does it count things like a protection shield? Does that technically count as a buff? You know, things to wonder about. I think that they do, but you just never know with games like these. So some theory crafting there. If anyone knows that for sure, we can theory craft on some low-level enemies or something. Knight of Light, 80% chance on his 60 passive here to decrease the debuff duration of all light allies by 1 at the start of the turn. I'll get back into that later. 60% chance to grant the caster damage immunity by 1 turn when the caster is healed. So pretty much, I believe this covers heal over time as well, this damage immunity thing, so if you get a crit off and this happens to go off, it applies the healing over time for 2 turns. Then pretty much you're going to have a chance for those 2 turns to get damage immunity for a turn when the caster's healed. I believe that this damage immunity is just a 1 charge, but we'll go test it later and see for sure. It might not just be until his next turn, because that would be pretty strong if it was. Now this 80% thing, the reason I was laughing at it earlier is because, yes, it's going to be good in most cases, but if you have something like a Looming Death, you probably want that to stay up for 2 rounds so you can dispel it. But, you know, depending on how things go, like imagine if you got Lumen Death on, say, your tank, it was a light tank or a light ally, whatever it was, and then this guy's turn was next, so it goes from 2 turns to 1 turn, and then that character's turn is next, and then right after them is Rue. Or someone that could cleanse it. So that's kind of, you know, you gotta be careful with that. But overall, that's really solid. So that'll do you some good here. Now, all right, let's get into details. So I just started building him, even though I've had him for a bit. So his attack's not that great right now. But keep in mind, you're gonna be getting more attack when, well, some of the talent procs, but also whenever you get a buff, that's going to get jump 20%, so 20% of this, that's another basically 540 times 2, so 1080 attack, if it works like it says it does. So attack speed, you probably want your Kristian with attack speed, especially if you have PvP here. Crit strike chance, you see I pumped that a lot. I told you guys earlier, it's kind of an omni build right now. Eventually I want to do more crit damage, but for now, crit strike chance for testing purposes. The accuracy's from the purple star, it's whatever. Multi-strike, I was thinking about it, I was like, well, multi-strike would give you more chances to crit, and more chances for your proc, but, you know, you're losing base attack there, or crit damage, or whatever you want to do with your stat build on this guy. So multi-strike, I got him with a little bit, just to see him being good. Same thing with counter here. Your defense is kind of whatever. I got him with 2 set defense and 4 set rage. I'll show you guys later. His HP is not that high right now. It'll get better. A little bit of HP recovery. The reason I was thinking HP recovery was possibly it would proc. Wait, no, not that. It would proc this damage immunity. So I'm gonna test that out and see. Maybe we can get a couple tests in and see if that works. I believe I heard it works. But, you know, there's nothing like knowing for sure in evasion. Evasion's always good, but you gotta save it for characters you're really into. So before I get the runes, let's go ahead and look at hero talents here. So what I did with his talents, favorite load. I was initially really jazzed. I was like, oh yeah, and I re-rolled till I got 3-star on everything, and then I just never used them. But crit strike chance, you know, seems solid. If eventually you get yourself enough crit strike chance that doesn't matter, then go ahead with the proc, maybe get some crit strike damage. There's a hide when using skill 3. I was thinking about it. I'm sure there's applications for it, but in general, you probably don't need to hide because you'll have that damage immunity shield up for most things, except for penetration damage, I'm sure. But if you happen to have like I've seen teams hide teams in PvP, so if you happen to have some crazy setup, yeah, go for hide. Hide's not never a bad thing. But for me, I'm going strike for now. Later on, if I happen to get somewhere around base or with the proc like 70 to 80% crit chance, and I'll take this out. I'll probably go over to crit damage, but for now it's all right. Poison, if you run a specific poison setup, that's up to you. Personally, I'm going attack. You can also do elemental damage if there happens to be something you want Kristian to focus on, like a decaying or something crazy like that, but for the most part, I recommend attack there. Decreased damage taken from bosses, that seems pretty solid. Your other choice, if you're doing arena, take that. Shock, only if you're running like a dot team or something, but I'm not sure if you're going to have Kristian in a dot team per se. Now payback, this one's going to be a little controversial. 20% chance to increase critical strike chance by 30 for 2 turns when attack. So if you look at them, right, like say you get this leveled up to max, okay, so you got a 60% chance to basically do the same thing. 30% crit. His base crit right now is pretty much 40%, so that would take it to 70%. And if this happened to proc at the same time, it's a 20% chance. That would basically be a 100% crit chance, the way I have him right now. I should probably get him defense, and I probably will down the road. But for now, for testing purposes, like I said, we're going to try to crit as much as possible. Damage dealt to bosses, that should be a no-brainer. If you're in PvP, get the arena talents. Skill cooldowns, if you want skill cooldowns, just run them with someone that, like a Sid or someone. Bring his cooldowns down a bit, because his skill cooldowns aren't unreasonable. It's a 3 target on a 3-turn skill cooldown's pretty good, and a target that can get as powerful as this on a 6-turn cooldown. Ideally a 5, I've seen 5s, but with penetration damage and everything. So dealing more damage to bosses makes sense for me, and then there's a 60, so. Now, I should get out of this screen. We'll go to runes. Let me get back to him. This is a team I'm going to run in Xenon here in a second. So your runes, this is what I run on them. Defense and attack. Unfortunately for me, I use Rage Runes so much that I don't have the ideal stats that I want, so I kind of gave him like a mix mash of everything I could get. So a little bit of HP recovery, a little bit of attack, a little bit of multi, some crit chance where I could get it, some counter where I could get it. But as you see, these are base stats of only +6, and I have those 2 procs, like I said, that could basically get him to 100%. So probably eventually you're going to make a choice. You're going to go most people are going to do attack or crit damage and some HP increase. If you really like him, maybe you'll get him some HP recovery depending on what's going on. If he's a little bit squishy, I'm not quite sure how he is at higher levels, but that's what I got for him right now. Ideally, you probably want to do attack, HP increase, crit damage, and depending on what floats your boat after that, counter, multi, crit chance. There's definitely got to be some crit chance mixed in. I guess I should put that in too. But I always have like a love-hate relationship with crit chance, because yes, it's increasing your damage because you're critting more, but at the same time, it's like, oh, but my base damage could be so much higher if I just did more attack or crit chance, or I could get more HP or whatever. So, but when you have a hero that's based on crit, and my runes are this low, that's just the way you gotta roll it for now. So, real quick, we'll go look at his purple star upgrades. It's your standard stuff for hybrid. Why the load times are taking forever. So I got 2 stars on them, so your first 2 stars. You know, attack speed, both of those are really good for him. Some defense, accuracy, you know. And the thing, I know there's some people out there, they've been asking me, but Showtime Doctor on encounters like Ronin and Renta, you know, some accuracy is actually really good. I'm not saying it's terrible, but you can mitigate accuracy in this game by having a hero that buffs accuracy, either with their leadership or like their 2 or whatever. You could just roll one of them in the party if you really needed, just skill them up a fair amount. You know, make sure they're not a burden, get them some decent runes, and I can't name them off hands, but you know there's heroes out there with the accuracy bonuses for certain, you know, water light or whatever, or there's a 2 where it increases accuracy by X amount for 2 turns, 3 turns. Just take one of them, you know, there's better things you can do with your runes. And we need rune fodder anyways, and accuracy's the whipping boy, that's just the way it is, so. And then defense, accuracy, so that's good. HP, never a bad thing. Attack damage dealt to attack types. Now that's extremely interesting for a hybrid. So imagine you got all your stuff, you got your buffs up, and you're ready to rock, you got your ultimate. Maybe if you're lucky, reveal weakness or some crazy debuffs on them, defense it down, decrease debuffs on them. And you're like, dude, I'm gonna ult this guy. Well, attack, you could probably just freaking evaporate dudes, because from what I've been told, I haven't tested it out, but from what I've been told right now, Kristian is the hardest burst damage in the game. And I know that might seem counterintuitive. You know, like, oh, what about Sayo? What about this? What about that? Well, because he can get buff from buffs and buffs buff from buffs, I never even thought of that. He gets 20% attack. Right, he gets 20% attack for every buff. So if you put like a Leafa buff on him, you know, that's attack percentage up to 40%, base 20%. And then also gives him another plus 20 attack for him. So that's basically 60% attack right there. Then you add on the 2 other buffs. One of them's crit damage up to 40. So that's going to buff him. And then that's another 20%. One of them's survivability up to 40. That's another 20%. So that's 60%. Plus, if you have your Leafas skilled up, that's basically 100% extra damage. If you have Leafas 2 maxed all the way. 100% bonus damage. And we're not talking about, like, you know, if he has his self buff up, which is this one right here. If he has maybe the, not that one, the healing, the passive healing one, maybe that gives him another 20%. Depending on what else you got going on, maybe you got damage immunity, maybe you have ruse, abnormal status immunity up. You see what I'm saying? And depending on how many buff slots you can get at least 120% just based just off that. Because I'm guessing it's 6 buffs, but we'll see. I'm actually gonna have to, let me think about the team for a bit. And then the rest of his stuff, you know, defense is good, skill 1, max HP, more damage to supports, 20/20 on crit and attack. So your purple stars overall are going to be really solid on him for the most part. You know, let me think about this. How many buffs can I get up on him? Sid could put up shield. Sid can also do damage immunity. Oh no, that's a cooldown. He has a chance for a damage immunity. Reset all skills. So Sid can pretty much put up 1. Rue could probably put up 2. Oh, if she reses them, that's another one. Morgan's not going to do anything for him, neither is he. You know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll kick out Morgan. So we will put, let's go ahead and put him at the 2. So 2, 3, 4, and I will take a friend's Leafa. We'll see if we can get this guy to crit super hard or not. You think, is there anything else on this screen I haven't really gone over? Not really. Alright, well let's get to it then. We'll go do some testing. Bing, click that, because why not? Alright, so I'm gonna take him in the Xenon dungeon. I would take him in the Kristian dungeon, but I think I hate the Kristian dungeon. It's kind of a little easier with Sid, but I hate that RNG in phase 2 so much. Alright, so roll over here to Demon Sword. Let's find me a Leafa. We have a Leafa. There she is. Okay. So this will be interesting because I'm taking Fire Heroes into a Fire Advent, and Tayo will carry. Kristian, question mark. Got 2 solid supports. So let's see how this goes. Richard Simmons stretching in the house. Alright, so I'm gonna take things slow. You guys should be familiar with this dungeon. They don't like Tayo, do they? I wish I could have the screen up. I wish they'd put that back. Okay, so what should we test first? Crit strike chance by 20. Let's go ahead. We'll put reveal weakness up. I should turn the sound up a bit. I usually have it low when I'm doing like my solo farms because I got other stuff going on. I guess he didn't put it up. That's too bad. Now, okay. I'm trying to think if there's any way I could look at him. I don't think I can in solo. Okay, so let me look and see if it gives him now. He got the healing. I guess he must have crit or whatever. Alright, so here we go with Leafa's buffs. Let me see if that visibly says, okay, now his attack is XYZ. It doesn't look like it does. He's got the Sid shield now. So possibly 5 buffs. It looks like you can actually stack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buffs. But if a debuff gets on, I don't know if that knocks it off, because games work differently in that way, but... Alright, so... Go ahead and get busy with Sid. By the way, if you watched my Sid video yesterday, I tuned his multi down a bit because I realized that he can only cleanse whoever the lowest person is. It's not like he's going to cleanse multiple people. And that can still help, but it's not necessarily as important as getting him as much life as possible. Someone came in the comments and told me that Sid's HP is what his shield is based off of, so I went ahead and pumped his HP. I took off the defense runes on him. But enough of that. Alright, so he's got a lot of buffs, so let's go ahead and ult. See what happens. We'll go on this weak guy. Hopefully we'll get a crit. 299.23, and now his crit strike chance is increased. I wonder if that was from the 20% thing. That's actually a lot of damage considering how I'm gearing him. 299. All things considered. That's probably the proc. That's probably not from his 1. Unless there's some type of bug that his 1 goes off on his 3 somehow. Alright, so that was a solid hit for him, all things considered. Because he's not ignoring defense. He's penetrating, but those guys, as far as I know, didn't have any type of damage immunity. So... big ult. The reason that hit so soft was because he has elemental damage reduction, so only someone like Tayo can hit him super hard. Let's go ahead, we'll start working on Kristian's cooldown. Bring it down a bit so we can get some more testing done. Alright, so Multi did some work there. And it's already over. Multi did some work there and it got him that extra crit chance increase buff. So that was pretty cool. So now my goal, besides not dying, is... oh, Leafa's blinded, so Sid. Who cares? Alright, so let's get busy. Actually, you know what I should have did? I should have freaking... I'll put them together. Oh, I can't. I move Kristian over here. Because the person who stands on 2 is usually the one that's gonna die. There's a reason I put Kristian there, because he always ults Tayo for the most part. And let's see if we can get a big taunt out. Big looming deaths. Alright, let's go on the scrubs. Oh yeah, I forgot. I always forget he puts a buff up. Okay, let's do that. I usually don't do it because it's skill 1 or skill level 1. My other skills are 2 and 3, so. Alright, well, this is one of those sad cases where it doesn't matter even if this does proc, because they're all taking their turns right after him, so that's unfortunate. And also, they're not standing in a cone, so wouldn't really matter. So let's hit one of the scrub guys. Decent hits there. Gotta get a defense down. Big Sid taking off debuffs. Alright, so there's the ult. His ult penetrates, but it still didn't kill him. Interesting. I don't think the shield had anything to do with it, but I'm not sure. I was testing yesterday's Sid on the Kristian dungeon, guys. And on Kristian's second hit, like, he usually comes at you and hits you hard, then he hits you again. On his second hit, sometimes Sid's shield would absorb that damage, because I was speculating yesterday. I was like, it seems like, you know, XYZ, but... Yeah, so there's the resolve. Oh, that's true. I should probably kill him. Got calm. Ah, man. Alright, we'll get another test then. Decaying too powerful. Or Tayo too powerful. Although, dang, I can't take a Leafa now. I think that's my only Leafa friend up. I think, who else puts buffs up? Oh, there's a Leafa. Let's see. Okay. So this time what I'll do, I'll save the ultimate. I'll try to get two of Leafa's skills right off. We'll see if we can get a cone attack. I'll save the cone attack. Alright, so we'll do a 1. Got his damage immunity. So it looks like his damage immunity can proc from... Oh wait, no, that was his 1 proc. I'm not sure if it can proc still from his recovery amount. Sure, he's still out there. Oh, stop in, Tayo. Alright, here comes the buff. Let's go ahead and hit this guy. I'm gonna skip with Tayo this turn. Dang it, Tayo. You just killed my gimmick, Tayo. You just killed my gimmick, man. I was totally gonna test on all 3 of them. Alright, well, what we'll do instead then, we'll just test on this one guy. Because he's got 5 buffs out of 8, so that's pretty good. Didn't get a big crit chance. Or crit there. Look at, did he have his crit strike? Damage is up, not crit chance. Okay, well. That's what happens when you test sometimes. It doesn't work out like you want it to. I won't keep you guys past this encounter though, guys, because I'm sure, from what I've heard, he can crit 350,000 on decaying like someone who he's taken 30% more damage. Pretty much like nothing, so. You got the right buffs in the right situation, you get a crit on him. I don't want to mess with that guy, because he'll poison and everything. Alright, so right now, how many buffs does he have? He has 5 buffs, he doesn't have an increased crit chance, but... You know what? I'll wait on it. See if we can get that increased crit chance proc. Well, let's kill this one guy. I'm Xenon. Stop hitting Tayo. There he goes. Okay, so he has his crit strike chance up now. Go ahead, try to taunt. Alright, we'll do cooldown reduction. Try to get the buff up. Good. Okay, so I'll wait. Oh wait, actually, how long does he have that buff? It's only gonna be like one turn. Alright, let's try to see how hard we can crit something that is elementally vulnerable, if we can get the crit. 265, but there was also an additional damage prog, did you see that, of 219? 21193 is what I saw, but you can go back and check in the video, maybe it was a little different. That's pretty good. It's like a 4. I wonder what that additional proc was from, though. Not sure. Sometimes, if you guys notice, sometimes in crits, like Morrigan's a good example. Sometimes when Morrigan crits, she crits and it's like one super hard number, like 40k or whatever the hell. And then you'll see her crit sometimes and it'll be, you know, like 20k, 20k, 15k, 20k. And it's just, why does the game do that? And I don't understand. Because the way that she works, she's all attack percent based. But is there like additional procs going on, or I don't know. The game calculates its math kind of weird sometimes. Oh, damn, 4 crits in a row, not bad. Plus there was more additional damage. I wonder if that's penetration damage? No, it can't be. He doesn't have a shield or anything. I'm honestly not sure what that is. I'm gonna have to figure that out at some point. 6 crits in a row. Alright, so Kristian's done pretty much. I already gave him the buffs. Let's go ahead and get that garbage debuff off him. There's your ult. Tayo evaporate and stuff. Alright, let's see if we can get his 3 to hit semi-hard. It's about 10k. So, for the gear level I got him right now, that's actually not bad. But if you want to see big deeps, I'll come back with the video eventually. And I'll try to replicate that 350 that people are talking about. But the way that that's going to be possible is, A, if you have them with at least 6, 7, 8 buffs. You know, buffing tag damage, crit damage chance, crit damage and chance, rather, whatever else is going on. And then you're fighting someone with elemental weakness to him, so a dark, for 30% more damage. And then also, you know, maybe you got some procs up, you got the specific talents, you got your runes to plus 12 or plus 15. You know, you got lots of attack or crit damage substats. You're gonna be rocking, so you're gonna be rocking. I just wish I could show you guys that, but that's just the way it is. Let me look real quick on his kit to see if I can explain that extra damage. He was getting on his 1 and his 3. What I wonder is if the way that the game programs effects like these, if initially, you know, the main damage is on whatever this says, and then for the first, you know, debuff or whatever it's applying, maybe it does a different hit to actually apply that, and then if there's like a second thing, maybe it does a different hit to apply that as well. So it just doesn't combine all that. That might be it, because it's the same way with this chance, because I saw 2 numbers go up for this sometimes. And maybe this is a different hit as well. Maybe that's the way I need to start thinking about things, but... Anyways, guys, I'll show you one other thing real quick before I end the video. Show you my guildie, one of my guildies that has a really buff. Or actually, you know what? It's on my friends list. Hopefully he actually has that hero searchable. So we come over here. Where is he? By the way, I had someone kick me off their friends list because I used Sid. And like, oh no, he's not using his Elite Deeps character kick. That's funny. I don't know who it was, but whatever. Alright, yeah, here's this Kristian. So, clearly, level 6 skills. I forgot to say that earlier. That's going to help you crit harder. But, if we look at the details, first we'll look at the hero talents that he went with. Attack, crit chance. Shock, interesting. Defense, damage to bosses, so Decaying counts as a boss, so that's probably additional damage there. Enhancements, from what I saw, he had it up to 5, so he's getting almost everything except for the last thing, especially all the damage upgrades. Runes, you know, not level 15 runes. HP increase, lots of HP increase. Attack, base attack. Crit chance. Hey, yeah, that's eventually where you're going to want to go. So the base attack is going to end up being right now for him 6347. And that's huge because the higher your base attack, the more that those 20% stacks are going to do for you. Pretty good crit. You know, everything else is kind of, except for HP. Keeps him up on HP, so that means he's probably running him on high level things like the Sid dungeon and a little bit of HP recovery. I believe this is the person that told me his passive can proc off the HP recovery, but I didn't personally see it. I'll keep watching. I'll comment on the video if I see it for sure. But anyways, guys, this has been your in-depth Kristian character guide. Good luck on your Kristian farming. Dungeon's kind of a pain, but that's just the way it is. RNG. Sometimes on that second phase, it doesn't matter what you do, you're just going to lose. And I don't know who at Netmarble or Morbirium or whoever's programming the game was like, man, you know what's going to be a really fun encounter? Yeah, what? 2 tanks. Oh, yeah, that'll be lit, fam. And yeah, make sure that they taunt. Yeah, make sure that they have AoE ults that stun like 80% of the time. Yeah. And oh yeah, give them a charging attack, give them a 50% multi-encounter. Yeah! The people are gonna love this encounter, yeah! Just like, oh my god, sometimes with that encounter, but... Anyways, guys, I'm Showtimedr on Twitch. You can find me http dot, or wait, no, the colon, / the www, because people were asking me in the comments, they were like, well, how do you spell it exactly? I'm like, twitch.tv/Showtimedr. It's not that hard. But it's all good. And then you got my YouTube in the show notes. We got a Discord. You can come in, share your experiences, ask questions, show off. I don't care. Just don't be a jerk. And I guess that's it. So no, man. Peace out. Have a good day. Bye-bye.